All right, guys, this is a new bait I'm coming out with. This is the taco salad. Reason it's called that, it has a taco tail, which is a taco is a bait I made a few years ago. I don't actually currently make them, but it has a unique tail that's kind of cupped. So when it goes across the surface of the water, it actually catches air and it'll leave a bubble trail and kind of sounds like a whopper plopper. So this bait will do the same thing like the original taco, but this one's weedless so that you can fish it in the salad, AKA weeds. So a couple different things about this bait. When you hold it in your hand, you notice that it's very soft, at the bottom is very soft. Across the top, it's a little more rigid. And so the reason this bait is that way is so that when you're torquing that twist lock in there, you don't distort the bait. Because if the bait distorts, then it's hard, it doesn't swim right if you fish it weightless. So you wanna make sure the bait doesn't get distorted. That helps with that. Also helps keep the eyeballs on, because when you twist and distort the front of the bait, it stretches the silicone and the eyes could come loose. So that'll help with that. And then lastly, when the fish eats it and the bait collapses, the bottom of the bait collapses, but the top of the bait doesn't collapse where it's gonna get in front of the hook and prevent the bait from penetrating the fish. So that's a thing that I've always disliked about baits. If they're too soft in the top, you go to set the hook, sometimes you set the hook right into the bait and you don't actually hook the fish. So this bait has two different densities of silicone in it for those reasons. I'm gonna show you guys how to rig this thing. 12-aught beast hook. This is a weighted version. You can also use the unweighted version. If you use the unweighted version, you gotta make sure it's rigged perfectly, otherwise it's gonna lean one way or the other, which doesn't necessarily hurt anything. I mean, you can still fish it that way. Fish are gonna eat it just the same, but I know a lot of guys are picky about that, but you gotta make sure you rig it properly. This one, it doesn't matter as much if you got the weighted hook. And I would say for general purposes, the weighted hook is the way to go. So what I like to do with these is if you take like a side cutter like that, go to the spring, on the spring part of this, just snip it off a little bit. I already did it. And what that does, it kind of leaves a little bit of a cutting edge on the spring itself so that it cuts into this bait a little easier. You don't have to do that, but that's, if it'll help the screw go in there a little easier because this is pretty tough silicone. So just like any, weedless bait, you want to start that screw right where it needs to be. If you've done this a million times, most people have, we're going to crank that dude in there. And it goes, you can see it goes in there pretty easy. It's not like you have to fight it too much. Towards the end, it gets a little tricky, but boom. Got my twist lock in there, didn't distort the front of the bait, everything's good, okay? So again, you wanna make sure that's as centered as you can get it, all right? Now, it comes with a little piece of tubing, okay? This is to aid in getting that hook through into the hook slot. So this hook actually, if you can see, sits a little bit underneath that fin on the top. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go in with this tube at a little bit of an angle, like a 45-degree angle, until we poke through into that hook slot. So I got a little cup of water here. I'm gonna wet this tube so that it slides in there easier. So you wanna go in at like a 45-degree angle, right? Make sure you go straight in, like straight in the center of the bait, right? And then I put my finger in the pocket here and then feel for that to poke through. There it is. So you want that tube to come out to the back of the hook slot, right? Okay, I'm gonna wet that tube a little bit more. Now it's easier if you just dunk this in the lake or something, it rigs real easy, or you can dunk it in the sink or something when you're doing it, because that silicone will grab that tube. All right, so now that we got that, right? We got the tube in there. We went back at like a 45-degree angle into that hook pocket, and then we reached in there and pulled it back through to the bottom. Now all you gotta do is fold the bait like this, put the hook in the tube, and this is where the water really helps. And then you just slide it on out the top, okay? That bait is perfectly rigged, down the center, all good. So that's all you got to do for this bait. Now I would recommend, because these owner hooks always kind of face in, this is a thing that everybody knows about them. I usually try to bend, this particular bait, you probably should bend it out a little bit. You don't want to bend it too much, but you want to bend it just enough that it fits in that slot. I don't like it sticking up, because if it sticks up, then it's not weedless anymore. So I make sure it's just kind of facing straight, but it's in that pocket enough. So that's how you rig it, okay? A couple things you can do with this bait. I'll show you another little trick here. This is an 1/8 ounce egg sinker, okay? In this bait, if you slide this hook out, in the back of it, in the back of the hook slot, there's a little hidey hole. So if you use a weightless hook, which I do regularly, let's say but you know, you want it to get it down a little bit, you can tuck like an 1/8 ounce or a 1/4 ounce, I wouldn't go more than a 1/4 ounce, into that little hidey hole in the back of the hook slot, right? And now you've just added a little more weight to this bait. So this is really helpful if you've got the weightless hook on here. You can see it bulging right there. It's got a bulge in its hidey hole. So anyway, you can add like up to a 1/4 ounce. If you put like 1/2 ounce or something, then the bait starts to do weird planing things, which you might be able to turn that into a bite. So I would definitely experiment with that. But if you want the bait to swim normal, you can add about 1/4 ounce in that little hidey hole, and it won't really affect the way the bait swims or anything too much. So that's just if you're using that weightless hook and you just want to get it down a little bit, you can have that option, because you know these owner hooks, they only go, this is like 3/4 ounce. You know, they don't have different weights for these 12-aught beast hooks, sadly. So that's if you just want a little bit of weight, or you can actually add a little bit of weight to the 3/4 ounce too. So you can make this a 1 ounce, put a 1/4, and then you got the 3/4, and you can get down a little further. So that's that. So there's a lot of different other ways you can rig this bait too. So I'm going to show you another one. So this is how I rig it. Earlier I was talking about plopping the bait across the surface. You could actually rig it like this, okay? So here I have two rubber, these are just rubber beads that I slid on the hook shank. You can get those at Amazon. I had a whole bunch of them. It's just rubberized fishing beads. And you slide them on the hook shank, 2 of them. I got 2 split rings on there holding the hook. So this will plop across the surface. So I don't have any weight in this at all. It's just a weightless hook. I also like to put a split ring on the nose, just kind of helps to level the bait out a little bit as it's swimming. So there you go. If you want to rig it like a whopper plopper, that's the way you do that. Rig it, you know, just a weightless hook or with the weighted hook. There's one. There it is. So that's the 3/4 beast hook. And I was plopping it. No! Stop. Got lost. Stop, buddy, stop. Okay. Whew. Wow, look at that. Folded the tail up. On the surface, I still got the hook in her. But anyway, yeah, buddy. Not too bad. On the new weedless bait that I rigged like a taco, and that's pretty much it. So anyway, I sent some of these to the gathering, so I hope you guys enjoy them. I'm going to try to get my molds made for these soon and put them up on my website before too long. So anyway, thanks for watching.